Hey folks, this is Lucid, and it's been a while since we have done an intervention video, so I've got one here for you for Hellenika. And this is going to be, we're jumping in, like turn 48 or something, to Arcadia. So the map we're playing on, come back look at the national overview in a second. The map we're playing on is Atlantis, which is pretty cool. My old Agartha series was on this map, and it looks like somebody did a good job porting it. It used to be there was a port of it, but didn't have all the province edges and stuff. But anyway, they've done a great job porting it, so that's great. Now, this is the nation. It's not super huge. What we're going to do is we're going to first cover a very quick national overview. Then I'm going to go over kind of their situation that they're in, where they are, what their research is, what problems they have, what their opportunities are. And then once we've done that, then I'm going to go into how we solve those problems, or at least my ideas on it. And for that last part, we'll go into a test game that I have set up, and hopefully we'll be able to answer a lot of those questions about how we can potentially do different things. And so first let's pull up the national overview. Also a disclaimer, I am a bit of a Hellenika noob. I've now played a few games with Hellenika, but in no way, like one of the reasons one of my strengths I think in Dominions is I understand national matchups pretty well, like which nations do well at which timings against what other nations. I do not understand that very well for Hellenika, and I barely know the nations I've played, much less, all the nations that are in there. That said, I have played against Hellenika. I played against Arcadia. Sakane played them, and he and I fought for a while when I was you. So I have an idea of how the nation works. He and I have talked about it some before, too, not having to do with this video. But anyway, yeah. So let's talk about Arcadia. The first thing to understand about the nation, and so this is not going to be, again, disclaimer, a super in-depth look at Arcadia. We're not going to look at all the national spells. It's not going to be like a full national overview. And some of that is because I don't understand all the depth of... I've already spent like 4 hours probably preparing for this, like just understanding how to solve different problems and testing things. And for me to actually go in and look at all the different spells we have, I think where are most of them? There's a lot in Conjuration. And then there's some deeper in here. Like, I don't know what all these are. And I don't know which ones are the right ones to prioritize. So this guide, or this intervention, is going to be totally devoid of all of that. Because I don't know what all these are and which ones are worth going for. So anyway, we're not going to cover that part. What we will cover, again, is the situation, a brief national overview, and then how to solve some specific medium-run problems. Okay, so what is the biggest crazy part about Arcadia? The biggest crazy part about it is they can do scales manipulation with units. And this is a good example of the unit right here. All the scales manipulation units will spread laziness, and so you can never have maxed out... Well, you could, but you're not really going to have maxed out order. Instead, you're going to have... productivity. Instead, you're going to have sloth. And because of that, anyway, you're not going to have perfect scales, but with each of these ones you build, there are a few different varieties, and some will come with increased growth scales, some will come with increased luck scales, some will come with increased magic scales, some will come with increased order scales. And if you have enough of these in a province, even if you took the worst scales possible, like you completely dumpstered all your scales, you can have perfect scales in the province except for productivity, where instead you'll have sloth. So that is a pretty big deal, because it means you can go hell bless or whatever you want. And yeah. So that's pretty huge. The problem with this is these ladies, they cost no upkeep. They're 60 gold though. They don't cost commander points. And they can research okay if you take magic scales. But I think they're pretty garbage in train, though I could be wrong about that. Anyway, they're also homesickness, so you can really... There's a thing you kind of want to do where you want to move these guys around to like provinces they're needed, because you're not guaranteed to get the right ones for that specific province. So you'll have to. It's never going to be worth killing them off. But anyway, you'll have to basically, once you have a fort established, you can slowly start producing these to fix the scales in that fort. So anyway, very strange mechanic, because you can take these cancer scales, but if you inhabit a place long enough, you can end up getting good scales. So it's, in some ways you can think of it like a very slow growth kind of nation. Like you slowly, like there's a lot of benefits to kind of, having some space and kind of having time to get your infrastructure. Because not only do you need to get your infrastructure set up, you need to get your infrastructure, and then you need to get your, basically your commanders in place to actually make it so you have okay scales. And again, fortunately, these guys cost no upkeep. And they can research. So I think there's a pretty strong, and you can make like an infinite number of them a turn, just about. Like you can make a ton of them. So I think it's a really strong argument for taking, maybe not for taking magic scales, but like once you have magic scales in a province, which these guys can give, they can research okay. So anyway, that's the first kind of big thing about the nation. We'll look at them real quick. They've got a lot of really high nature. They've got good earth. They've got okay air, and then some water and fire. They've got powerful summonable mages, and they can recruit in underwater forts as well, which we've done here in this game. We have rhapsodes who are super cheap, and you can get these guys anywhere, even if you don't have a temple, apparently. Temples allow for recruitment of sacreds or free troops, as well as these guys. Wait, all those Theods? Oh, that's these ones. Yeah. Temple, okay, so you don't have to fort up a province. You can just put a temple, and then you can get these. And yeah, these are also healers, which is pretty sick. And then they're going to increase sloth, order, growth, fortune, and magic, which is huge. Primitive forts. So you can't do very big forts, which kind of sucks. Forts are minus 25% more expensive, so they're cheap. And temples are only $200, so they're cheap. So you can see there's some pretty big economy plays you can do. The problem with this, though, is because it's sort of slow, if you never really get your feet under you, do you have enough temples in province to have all the Theods? What can end up happening is you basically take hell scales, and you never end up getting your feet under you, where you get good scales rolled out from these guys. And that is a big risk. And you have to ask yourself, like, what percentage of your empire are you going to have these dudes in? And if you only have it in your most high income places, it can kind of be okay, because a lot of times it's not quite the 80-20 rule in Dominions, but it's sort of like that. Like 80% of your income will come from your 20% best provinces. It's not quite like that. It's more like probably like 70% of your income will come from your 30% best provinces. But I think some of the scales, it's worth considering how fully, like, do you dumpster growth is really the question. Because, like, growth is the main income scale, and you're not going to, at least for a long time, have good scales everywhere, because you'd basically kind of have to fort up everywhere. Which you could do, but it's a little painful. And there's a strong argument for forting up as this nation, but it's going to take time, because you're going to be a little poor, because until you get your scales fixed, you can easily feel like you're always chasing scales, trying to get your scales fixed. It takes a long ass time. Anyway, let's finish going through the units. So the shepherd, this guy can get goats, free spawn goats, if I recall. I don't really remember I don't know the purpose of these. We've got a mounted commander. We have a rhapsode, and these are very special because you can spam them out. You can get them literally anywhere, and they're a holy one. So, you can produce just tremendous amounts of these guys. And what makes them important is some of them will be astral, 20%. The 20% who are astral, they are going to be, in my opinion, primarily your communion slaves. And that's going to be very important. The other ones, you would think they would be useless because they're just like a stealthy preacher with sloth power. No. They actually have things they can do. And we'll talk about what that is. They also have the Spellslinger trait. But they're, in my opinion, an extremely important part of the nation. Next, we have the Oleoniad, or however you say it. And air, nature, so rainbow armor, and then potentially winged monkeys if you're into that sort of thing. And then water, earth, and nature and air. So the nature randoms are obviously nice because nature 3 is pretty nice. You can spam charm. The other ones, the water random can do foul vapors, and the earth randoms are just important for buffing. Now, one of the things before we kind of go farther and talk about it, there's an item you can produce as this nation. It's construction 4, and it's this one, the Ancient Rhapsode. This is going to allow you to cast the spell Communion Master, and it's going to give you +1 priest. Now, the importance of this is that any of your mages, you can very cheaply, for the cost of 2 pearls, put them into a communion. So when you're looking at, like, oh, we have an Earth 1 random we can get. When you're looking at it and you say, okay, there's an Earth 1 random we can get, this Earth random can potentially be like an Earth 3 or 4, right? Because we can do Inner Communion, summon Earth Power, and then spam out Legions of Steel, Strength of Giants. So we have very high, or reasonably high Earth access, like 3, 4, pretty easily. Now, it's off path for our communion, so we have to be a little careful about it. But we all, like I was saying, we have earth and we have nature. This means we can do things like earth power and we can do relief, which is going to unburden our communion a fair amount. But communions are a very important part of this nation. Next up, we have the Lycanthropos King. And this guy is notable for being an assassin that gets 5 lycanthropes that start in combat with him. And he has scale walls, which is one of the best assassin traits. And he has invulnerability 15, which means if you toss armor on him, like he can be a melee combatant and just run in. You like lion pelt. That's all he needs really. Lion pelt, and then just have his ass run in with the wolves, and he's probably going to kill everything. If you want to be fancy, you can put some other item on him, like a bottle of water, and it's just going to be disgusting. But yeah. He doesn't have magic pass, but boy, this is a strong assassin. And I think he can summon Lycanthropos in his spare time. So, anyway, pretty cool. Expensive, though. And in my opinion, you might want a couple of these to deal with raiding threats. But, aside from that, you're not going to have money for them very early. But definitely kind of tempting to spam out. And it's a cap only. And it's going to compete with your cap only production of Oreads. Which Oreads are important because they can cloud trapeze. They're higher in nature. They're a guaranteed earth. So you can imagine throwing these in communions. They're going to be really good. And then they get the same air, water, earth, and nature as randoms. So anyway, they're very good. They also have seduction. So they're very powerful assassins. You really can't have enough of them. The only problem is they're expensive. But just discuss. You could do air elementals, you can do swarm, you can do creeping doom, you could do earth elementals. There's so much stuff you could, there's a million ways to assassinate dudes with these. They're expensive though. And they have awe. So they're also potentially thuggable. Okay, we also have naiads who can be recruited in underwater forts, which is pretty cool. They have homesickness, though, so they don't really like leaving home, but these are very powerful mages, and they're sacred. I would say this is an extremely good deal. 145 gold for a 6-path mage that's sacred. Whew, that's really good. And then we have these who can be recruited in all non-fort provinces, and this is the same. We already talked about them. Now, for units, our unit production is a bit odd. We can get Menaids. I'm going to go click on it here. So we can get Menaids, and they're free. They cost only a resource and a recruitment point, and we can get 2 per month. So in general, you're always going to want to produce 2 Menaids a month. Next up, we have woodland spirits. They are sacred. They regenerate a lot. They have awe, and they're ethereal. So very, very good base stats. Unfortunately, they are homesickness 40, which means they can leave home and then they basically need to come back. They could leave home, maybe go one other province and come back, but if they're not back in if they spend more than 3 turns away, they're dead. And you can't really mitigate this, I don't think. I mean, maybe you could heal up in battle and it would kind of be okay with regen. Maybe if they're constantly fighting, it would be okay. I'm not even sure about that. I think they might be okay if they're constantly fighting. But man, if they don't, they die really fast. So even if they're constantly fighting on the way out, if you ever come back and they're not constantly fighting, there's a strong argument to be made to keep them at home. So, but these are also free. They cost 0 gold, 1 resource, but they're limited. You can only get 1 per turn. So, okay, we get one of them. And these guys actually, they're not so cheap. They also cost 40 recruitment points, whereas these guys are only 1. And if you go, which you basically inevitably will, well, no, if you have order, you should have enough. Like in our capital, we have order, so we actually have a fair amount of recruitment points. So this is not going to put a hurting on us. It doesn't cost any resources. We can do it. This is kind of trivial once you have order spread from your mages. Corbiance is the other unit, and we're limited. Oh no, these were not limited in our capital. Are we limited elsewhere? Oh no, we're not. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking we're limited on them. We're not. Okay, so they're 20 gold. They are bad formation fighter, which means you can only fit, I think you can still fit 2 per square. They're sloth power 1, which means that in turmoil they're going to fight. I mean, in sloth they're going to fight terribly well. They're going to get 1 to all these stats. I mean, 3 to all these stats in sloth 3, which is pretty huge. That's we're getting in very high defense ranges and pretty high strength. So that's pretty important. And yeah, it's a recruit anywhere sacred. So you're kind of seeing okay, wait, we can go a Hellbless. We have 1 free unit we can get that's sacred for defending. And by the way, Steel Strength is a very good attack because it's armor negating. That's obviously worth mentioning. Extremely good attack. It's also, I think, does Strength apply? I think it does, yeah. Strength does apply. So they would benefit from Strength of Giants. But yeah, and then you've got these guys who are very cheap sacreds, right? So if you're playing this nation and you get enough infrastructure up where you can kind of get a few of these coming out of turn and you can fix all your scale problems from the Hellbless, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be in pretty good shape. And then, yeah, the woodland spirits and the Mneads. Okay, so what do we do now? We've kind of talked about all the units, and I hope... Oh, we've also got the humble Peltast, which we have to talk about the Peltast, because there's some problems you've noticed with our unit lineup. One is this lady can't leave home. This guy, one of the things I didn't mention is when they get blessed, they go berserk. Instantly berserk. And so they run off. What this means is you cannot put them on guard commander. And in my opinion, with one of the things we're going to talk about, which is charm spam, this nation can do exceptionally well. You're going to kind of want folks on guard commander. But these guys can't do it. You know who can do it is these guys, the Peltasts. So I think actually Peltasts, the humble, the lowly Peltast, have a pretty important role. And with Sloth power, if they're fighting in Sloth, they're actually pretty solid units. Because these, you have to imagine, attack 13, defense 16, that's now good. And then strength 13, this is now a decent attack, a 16 damage piercing attack. And then this is going to be a pretty long range, potent javelin. And then we have slingers who get similar sorts of buffs. So anyway, we've been through the units. There's one summon spell I'm going to talk about, which is, if I can see it, Choir of Impalads. This is going to give you 4... It's expensive. It's 24 nature gems, but it's going to give you these ladies. And they come in a few different flavors. And these also will increase sloth, but they will also increase another scale that you want, like growth, etc. So They're very nice. And they're also holy. A lot of our other Recruit Anywhere mages are not holy except for the Rhapsodes. Like, these guys are sacred, but they're not holy. They're not priests. These guys are sacred, but they're not holy. So a very important part of the Impalots is that they're holy. They have priest levels. And that's going to be important for reasons I'll mention in a minute. So, we've talked about some of the critical units. We've talked about kind of the general concept of the nation. There's one more thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to talk about the situation on the board, like where we are in the game. And that is, we have some national spells, combat spells, and they are Rhapsody of the Dead, which is a 15 range, 4 damage, 4+ area effect. And this is different from Stellar Decree. This will also scare spirits, an extra effect, Rhapsody of Life. I think this will heal friendly units. I'm not completely sure. I think Rhapsody of Life, yeah, this heals units. Armor negating, heal, doesn't affect mindless, doesn't affect inanimate, minor reinvigoration, and then Mystic Awakening. I don't exactly know what all these effects do. But anyway, it's going to heal things. So I think if you cast Rhapsody of Dead, it will have collateral side benefits to nearby units, but I could be wrong about that. And then you have Rhapsody of Life, which you'll find a lot of your holy units doing in combat, and they will like to spam this, and it's going to heal nearby units, which is really nice. And then coming down, we have Sleep if we're Holy 2, and then we have Charm if we're Holy 3. Now, this is a big deal, because Charm is one of the better single-target spells in the game. It's magic, it's basically MR negates, and if you fail, then you get converted over. And it's better than Enslave, because if you get a commander, they don't come back as a unit. They stay as a commander, and you keep the items. So that's pretty nice. And this is going to be one of the key strategies we're going to kind of rely on, spamming out this charm, not the nature. We also have the nature charm, which we get at a very low level. Like if you look at the research, Thaumaturgy, you start off with charm research. So you don't actually have to go down Thaumaturgy to get charm. All of your nature 3s can spam charm, which is cool. Okay, so now let's take a look at where we are. We are pinned in, so it's turn 47. And we're in this corner of the map. And it's an interesting corner because there's no land connections down here. Except through this bridge. There's this janky bridge crossing the river. I don't think up here either. It's a huge choke point here. Over here you can get to this island on Valanus and then make your way across. But this is like super choke pointy. Which is kind of nice because it means we don't really have to worry about a war down here in the south. What it does mean is it means we are in a death match with whoever is over on this side of us. And in this case, it looks like it is Zune. And we're currently fighting Zune. There are a few battles, and we're going to look at those battles in a minute. And then from that, we'll take it on to how we can kind of do better. But situationally, it's turn 47, and we only have 2 forts. We lost 1 fort. We had this one. But this is the first main problem. And if we hit F1 and look at our provinces, so this is our cap where almost all of our money comes from. Right? Everything else is just dirt poor. And that's because you can see we just have shit scales everywhere. Right? Horrible scales, and we've been, by turn 47, death scales has taken its toll. And this I want to bring up because I think if you're playing Arcadia, even though you can completely dumpster your scales if you want to, I think there is an argument to be made for growth. Because everything else, once you fix it, you can kind of rebound, right? But growth is the one thing that if you've been burning growth for a long time, it's permanent damage. You know, you've really destroyed a lot of your population. So I think there's an argument, a strong argument with Arcadia to take growth. If you don't, then I think you have to have a very strong plan around forting up. Like far more than this. Otherwise, you're going to have really bad income. So I think that's kind of the first problem, is that we don't have a lot of forts. Also, the one province we really need to have a fort on, we don't. And it's because we're in this like war with the Zune right now, it doesn't seem like a great time to have that forting up, or like to actually put that fort up. But man, we got a temple and a lab here. We really want a fort. Really, really want a fort. And it's worth considering just stationing. I mean, we've got some decent units here. Like maybe we go ahead and start fort construction. I think the problem is we need to win this war with Zune, and investing money right now in infrastructure is going to be very painful because we need that money to win the war potentially. But I think that like if we talk about medium run goals, it's getting more forts up, and he hasn't really made. This player has been relying on the Impalads to control scales. He has not been and he might not have known it, but these guys also control scales, and you don't have to spend nature gems on them. So I think getting more of the Anathuthids, or however it is, getting more of those and getting all of your forts to have good scales would be a pretty major milestone. And like getting a fort here. Having 3 forts with good scales, that would be pretty nice. And the sooner you can get this one done, the better, because right now the population's kind of deteriorating. This was probably like a 15,000 population province at the start of the game. So anyway, and the good thing, there's some good things about this. One is Zune, if they've been playing Zune correctly, they will have very high population in their provinces because they have magical cloning. So if we end up conquering Zune, a lot of these sins will be forgiven because we're going to inherit their high population, and we can then put our perfect scales in their forts where they have high population. So that is extremely appetizing. And in that way, like Zune is a great war target because hopefully there's a chance they weren't playing Zune right, or they didn't have the blood slaves or whatever to actually get magical cloning going, which gives them basically, gradually significant but gradual increasing population in all their in whatever province they cast it in. So anyway, that's kind of the backdrop. We also have Relay over here who potentially may attack us. And I was like more worried about that when I was first looking at this because I'm like, this army looks like it's coming our way. But there are a lot of mages here. Good freaking luck. PD dump here plus these mages patrolling. If these guys come close, like there's no way. There's just no way. One problem though is we don't have a lot of water gems. So we kind of need to stockpile water gems in case we have to take a fight. But anyway, you can see we just have a ton. I mean, we can spend all the water and nature gems and pretty much decimate them. And all these guys, I think, can cast Water Strike. Frozen Heart too. If we don't have a research, but Frozen Heart would be really good to get. That would just decimate whatever Relay sent to us. All these people spamming out Frozen Heart. Oh my god. Okay, so now what is? Oh, we're gonna do research. Research. We've got Conjuration 6. Why is that important? Well, we've got a few things. We've got. Does this give us a living castle? I think we have. Maybe we can build forts underwater. I'm not 100% sure actually. Oh yeah, we can. We don't even need living castle. So. Anyway, we've got Conjuration 6. I'm not even sure exactly why we've got it. This may be a very good spell. I have no idea. Importantly, though, we're going to have the Conjuration 3 and 4 stuff, like Summon Earth Power, and then we're going to have... at 4, yeah, we've got Strength of Gaia, which is pretty nice, because we have this cross path. We've also got Howl, which is really nice. And then we can also do air elementals and things like that. So, anyway, we've got a few kind of cool things. And again, I'm probably missing lots of different things like, Oracle of Seasons. I have no idea how good that is. We've also got Alt 5. Alt 5 is important because it's going to open up Wooden Warriors. And we haven't talked about our Bless yet, but we have a ton of fire resistance in our Bless. So Wooden Warriors is great here. It's so good. And we have Swarm, which is really nice. Because Swarm can definitely swing battles in a pinch. And we have Moss Body too, which is pretty good for point buffing. We also have Rhapsodes who are astral, so we can do Body Ethereal. So that's pretty nice. We have Evocation 4, which I'm not exactly sure what the main point of Evocation 4 for us is. I haven't really thought about it. But there's probably some nice, cool stuff we can do. Like, we can probably do Rust Mist. We can't do Sulfur Haze. We don't have fire. We can do freezing mists, though. So there's going to be a few kind of cool things we can do. We can probably do fire cloud. We can probably do acid rain. No, we can't do acid rain. Anyway, there's going to be some cool stuff this will unlock, so that's kind of nice. We have construction 4, which is super important because this is going to give us the ancient rhapsode, or I think whatever it's called, the ancient rhapsody, which is the communion item. And we have enchantment 7, which I really like. It's going to open up foul vapors for us. One thing we are lacking is we don't have death access, which is really unfortunate. Do we have any death? Yeah, we don't even have death gems. I think we have no death site searching except here. So that's a little unfortunate, and it's one of the things, like, to prepare for the late game, we probably need to figure out a way to do it. I don't really know how we would do it. But obviously there's lots of good death stuff in Conjuration. So it's a little bad we're missing out on that. The other nice thing is at 7, we don't quite have the fins, but we have here in what? Well, let's see. Yeah, okay, no, it's in 5. We've got the wards we can do to get various resistances if we think we're going to need them. We have Quagmire we can do, which is kind of nice if we want to slow the battlefield down, keep people from running. We have Anti-Magic, which is nice to do. We have Arrowfend if we're going to fight arrows, which I don't think is an issue. And we have Relief, which is very important, I think, for like a charm spam strategy. So Relief is really nice. What else do we have? We have, at 7, we get access to mass flight. So if we want to mass flight on top of people, we can. I don't think we have enough units, though, for us personally, that it's going to matter a ton. And we have Serpent's Blessing. This can be really nice if we want to do Foul Vapors traps in conjunction with a PD dump. So that can be really nice. Again, it would be super nice to have, like, Life After Death or something, but we don't. We also potentially could do Stellar Focus, and we have access to a lot of the economy spells, like Earthblood Deepwell, which we have really high Earth on our god, so we could potentially look at casting that. And then Gift of Health access, too, but I don't think we have... Anyway, I don't think we have enough nature gems really to spare to do that at the moment. So anyway, I think that's covered all our research. Thaumaturgy, we're at 6, too. Thaumaturgy 6, what does it? Harmonic Knowledge. I have no idea what this does. This will reveal all sites in a province. Probably worth doing on Thrones. Yeah, not totally sure what here I would want to cast. I don't see anything right now that's just jumping out at me that we need in Thaumaturgy. So, anyway, that's good. We'll come back and maybe at the end talk about research, but for the rest of this video, we're going to treat it as just like, okay, this is a puzzle, this is the research we have, how are we going to deal with the situation in front of us based on what we have? But we'll talk maybe about research priorities and stuff at the end. And there's also a chance I'll forget it. So now let's take a look at what's actually happened this particular turn. So first thing is there was a battle outside this fort. And the backdrop here is Zune was attacking this fort, and we went out for a valiant last defense. You can see we have our... Oh, I didn't cover our bless, but we'll talk about that here. We went out for a valiant last defense, not last defense, but defense of this fort, and we brought our god, the Great Archon. And obviously I wasn't playing this turn, so when I say we, it's the royal we, like the player, but since I'm doing the intervention, also me. We brought out the Great Archon, who's kitted up in super combatant gear. He's got a global tied to him, too, so we really hope he doesn't die. And then we've got these woodland spirits who are probably all happily living in this throne province until these evil Zunanites attacked. And so let's see how this battle goes. Now, if we look over on this side, we've got a bunch of these kind of Zune, Garnet, Amazon... Oh, crap, he's got a lot of commanders here, but he's got these guys who are good formation fighters, so you can pack 4 per square. He's got a few blood mages. I don't see any blood slaves in particular, though. He's got these air mages here who are going to do air elementals, and he's got... You can see on some of the commanders, he's got, like, this guy has a lifelong protection. I think he's got a commander. He's got 2 guys here with lifelong protection. And then he's got a few of these guys here, these commanders, these Griffin generals, and they each have lifelong protection. Is there one or two? There's two. And they both. So there's 4 lifelong protections, I think, in this squad. And lifelong protections are each going to make 2 imps. So he's going to be making 8 imps a turn. Which is not a lot, but it adds up if you can't kill them as quickly as they're getting made. So they're pretty good in combat. Eventually they'll harm mark and kill the wearer. But that can take a while. It can take like 20 or 30 turns. But it's a strong harm mark on lifelong protection, so you will basically die from it eventually. And not like a very long eventually, like a medium run eventually. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and see what happens here. Okay, so we've got Divine Blessing, I think, being cast on this side. Most of these guys are on Guard Commander. Now, we've put up Foul Vapors, which is very good, because if we look at their Bless... Let's look at Blesses. These guys have Reinvigoration 3 and Blood Surge. These guys, our guys, we have Shock Resistance, Fire Resistance 20. This is because we have Fire Shock Resistance 10. And then we have Heat Aura. And the Heat Aura also gives us 10 Fire Resistance. That's why we have 20. Penetration bonus 1. This is going to be very good for Charm Spam. Regeneration. So our guys are all going to heal. Blood Bond, which means they're going to kind of link together and share damage. Dark Vision 50. This actually comes from our cap site. And then Farcaster 50. This also is going to help with Charm, which is kind of a short-range spell normally. So I like this Bless a lot. The only thing I don't love about it is the Heat Aura. And I thought I liked the Heat Aura when I was first looking at it, but then as I got testing how to like set up like major armies, the problem with the Heat Aura is you can only use sacred units. You're going to you can see we're already setting on fire our Miniads. And if we use Peltasts, especially on like Guard Commander, our Peltasts are going to set on fire. So that's the only part I'm not in love with. But otherwise, I really like the Bless. Now, there's some things that are missing. Like, we don't have Protection getting cast, or Wooden Warriors, and that's something that absolutely should get spammed out. Just absolutely should get spammed. Now, you can see he's casting Blood Boil, the imps are starting to pour down, we've got some air elementals coming. Now, fortunately, like, these guys have magic weapons, so they're going to be okay, and they're ethereal. These guys are, Woodland Spirits are actually pretty good against their elementals. They're also going to be good against imps if they had Wooden Warriors cast on them. So Wooden Warriors not getting cast is not good. The other problem is while we have regen, we do not have poison resistance on our guys. And though we have it researched, we haven't cast it. And we really want to get poison resistance on our guys. And the reason is because, look, we've got these, they've gotten hit. Or I think they got hit. Or maybe somebody near them got hit, and that caused them to inherit some of the poison damage. Anyway, they retreat. So, a lot of our guys are... We're foul vaporing ourselves, basically, but we have regen, so we're okay with it, kind of. And you can see our troops are kind of wandering forward, but they're getting the imps are completely disrupting the formation. And the air elementals, it's just a disaster. Now, the god has jumped now back here at the end, but by the time the god has jumped back, he's fine. But by the time he gets back here, everybody's dying. So he's about to have an HP route. Yeah, he's just HP routed, even though he's completely full HP. Current maximum HP. So the god is completely worthless here. So this is a little bit of a misusage of a super combatant god, because if you use your god as a super combatant, in general you don't want to have more HP in the accompanying army than you have on him. But you can also imagine why you don't want to send your god into something like this alone, because he's going to get completely surrounded by imps. Right, so that's a problem. But there was a distraction caused, and Foul Vapors ended up doing a fair amount of work there at the end. So if we look at the damage, we lost 2 of our mages, we lost 8 of our Corbants, and we lost 20 of our Woodland Spirits. But he lost 2 of his commanders. Now, these had lifelong protections on them. He lost a Garnet Priestess, a Garnet Sorceress. So he probably lost 2 lifelong protections here, which is pretty expensive for him. And he lost one of his high Vestals, which is an expensive mage. So this was actually kind of costly for him. But there was a follow-on battle inside the fort where he stormed, and he had enough stuff to take this pretty easily because he's got lifelong protections on these guys. So the imps come down and kind of kill everybody. So anyway, he's taken this. Now, he's also using the same strategy for raiding. So he's got another squad over here, which is going to look very familiar to you. He's got 2 commanders, and he's got some dudes on guard commander. On our side, we just have some Maenads, a little bit of PD, and then one of our expensive cap-only mages who's about to get murked. It's going to drop Thunderstrike. I think there were some air gems on it for Thunderstrike, which would probably be better spent on air elementals, to be honest. But because I think the Thunderstrike's missed. But yeah, she gets killed. So what's interesting about this is while it's not cheap, because these guys are expensive. Each of these are 225 gold, and he's got 2 of them. And these guys are each 90 gold, like almost 100 gold, and he's got 7 of them. So this is an expensive kind of raiding squad, but it's hard to deal with, and it's going to be very low attrition, because nothing's even getting close to it. And if things do get close to it, these guys are no joke in combat. Like, they're pretty good, and then these Griffin generals are going to be hitting things. While this is not a low commitment attack, this is a medium commitment attack, like raid, it's going to kill a lot of medium commitment defenses. And so it's hard to think of a medium commitment defense that's going to get rid of this, because it's going to be really hard to close in melee, and if you do, they've got kind of tough stuff, and if you can't, then you're going to get overwhelmed by imps. So this is kind of one of the puzzles we're going to have to figure out if we want to be able to beat Zune, is how do we deal with these stupid little raiding squads efficiently? And fortunately, we can, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Here, we're also, we're raiding them here, like counter raiding, and here we're raiding also. So anyway, that's that. So we're about to go to the test game. Now, the puzzles that we have to solve, there's going to be 2 things I want to talk about. And we're probably going to talk about the army first. What we need to do is we need to get at least 1 army. Right now we don't have we would love to have 2 armies. We only have enough resources to put together 1. We need 1 army. And that 1 army is going to be able to need to knock over and take all these forts in succession. So we're going to need to think a little bit about siege strength, and we're going to need to put all the units we can muster into it. Unfortunately, I don't think... So we need to get these dudes, and then maybe put the lycanthropes that we've summoned over there in there too. And maybe there's some other summons, like we've got Conjuration kind of well researched, so we might... Oh, what could we do? We could get Fire Snakes or Summer Lions. Fire Snakes are actually okay siege chaff. But we need some siege chaff is basically what it is. Terracotta Soldiers are not bad. I think they may even have poison resistance, and they have a little bit of regen, which is nice. They would be actually really good in a guard commander role. I think they have fire resistance too, so we don't have to... They would actually maybe be really good. So maybe this is one of the things we look at with our god. But we're going to need enough siege chaff, which I'm going to kind of leave to the player to figure out, because there's not a ton of options. There's these guys, Peltas, which are pretty easy to mass, so they're definitely worth considering. And then the Corbions, which are, of course, nice. So, anyway, we need to get those. Now, this is going to be the army, right? This is the majority of our troops, right? The siege strength is only 90, but it'll be enough to at least take this back reasonably soon. And we need to combine into it whatever we can. And as painful as it is, because we want to spend the fire gems maybe on, like, this guy's a master alchemist, so maybe we'd want to turn them into... we could turn them into the fire gems into gold and then turn the gold into troops. But I think while we have this army coming up, it may be worth getting Terracotta Army, and just... Because we're pretty high fire, we're going to get, 14 per cast? Which is not bad. So we can have maybe 40 of these guys, and they can all be on guard commander duty by the time our army rolls up here. Um, and then the question is, what is the combination of mages and this, that, and the other we're going to need in this so that, okay, we can siege the forts, but how do we win the battles? And that's what we're going to look at in the test game. We're going to look at what do we put in that army to leverage the strengths of Arcadia. And the second thing we're going to look at is what are ways to cost efficiently deal with raiding. And so with that, let's go ahead and go to our test game. Where I can kind of show you some of this. It's going to sit here and think for a second. So I've got a kind of big army here. You can see we've got about 50 Corbeillants, and then I've got a lot of Peltasts. Now, these Peltasts are all on Guard Commander, and they could be anything. They could be Peltasts. They would actually be way better, I think, as Terracotta Soldiers. Because these Peltasts, actually, because we have this heat aura, are going to get set on fire like you wouldn't believe. But anyway, I'm going to show you the setup we have. The first strategy we're going to do is there is a way to get these guys who are normally your Rhapsodes. They're going to come out in a few varieties. They're going to be Holy One, and then they may or may not have Astral. So when we put the Rhapsode on them, or the Ancient Rhapsody, they're going to get Priest +1. That's going to kick them up to 2. And they're going to get Communion Master. Now, I thought, when I was first testing all this, it took me forever to figure it out, I thought when they did Communion Master, they would leverage all the Communion Slaves to get up to like Holy 3 or Holy 4. But it turns out, being a Communion Master, and I think I already knew this, doesn't work if you have no magic paths. And you can't be a Communion Slave if you have no magic paths. And Priest paths do not count. So it's a little weird because even though your Priest paths go up if you're a Communion Master, you cannot be a Communion Master if you're only a Priest. It was very odd, but that's the way it works. So you may be looking at this and like, Lucid, you said we're going to charm. How are we going to charm if this only gets us up to Holy 2? And the answer, my friend, is going to be Divine Channeling. So we've put this Ancient Rhapsode on one of our Impalads, which are, these are one of the summons, and we've got a ton of them in the game. And yeah, they're now a Communion Master, so they're going to do Divine Channeling. Divine Channeling will work on these guys. Normally it only works on Holy Ones, but these guys are Holy One base path. They only have this as a buff afterwards. So fortunately, the way the game works, it's still going to allow Divine Channeling to work, and then this item buff is going to effectively kind of like trigger afterwards and give them Holy 3. So if Divine Channeling goes off, they will be Holy 3. Then they can all spam Charm to their heart's content. And the AI is actually going to enjoy casting Charm. So we're just going to have them do Holy Avenger, Sermon of Courage, Advance, and cast spells. They've also got bodyguards. We're bringing enough of our ladies, these guys, the Oloniads, to put wooden warriors on everybody, which is going to be a little unfortunate for the Peltasts because they're going to get burninated by the heat aura. So again, ideally you're using something that's fire resistant. And then they're going to cast Swarm to kind of make some clutter. So here's 5 nature gems we're investing. And then all our Astral Rhapsodes, which in the game we don't have enough Rhapsodes. He hasn't been making Rhapsodes. So that's kind of one thing is like in the short run we need to make Rhapsodes. But you can make them anywhere. So you can get, he could if he wanted to get 10 Rhapsodes this turn. And hopefully 2 of them would be Astral. Right? And we need it probably like 4 Astral because we need to get up to Holy 5 to do Divine Channeling. And these are going to start off at Holy 3. So with they're Holy 2, right? But then this is going to give them Holy 1. So that gets them to 3. Anyway, they're going to need a couple more levels. So they're going to need 4 Communion Slaves. So that's kind of like a milestone. Get 4 Astrals. But then these guys are not useless. The guys without an Astral Path, they're going to be your Holy 3s who are going to spam out Charm. So this is basically the setup. I think we've got like 8 dudes. So this is, if you look at the Astral Commitment, we've got to spend 2 gems on each of these items. So that's like 8 times 2. So that's like 16 pearls to put all the items on them, which is not that much. But getting these Astral randoms quickly, he's already got a couple in the game, but getting more quickly is important because you need to get them You need to have them make the items, and then once the items are made, they need to go in the army. Okay, so then once they're in the army, advance and cast spells super important for this, because even though we have Farcaster, we need to get closer so that we can actually hit them with charm, especially with his strategy of like sit in the back and chunk spells at us. The other thing we can do, and it will depend, like the more Peltast, the more non-sacred units in the army you need to be careful about, but we can also do Foul Vapors like we did. But we also want to make sure we're spamming out Wooden Warriors. The other thing we can do, and you can see we're doing it here, we've got one of these items, and again, these are so cheap you can spam them. It's even worth, because think about it, if you alchemize gems to get pearls, it's either 2 pearls or it's 4 other gems. This is totally worth it, even for 4 of any gems you need to alchemize to get it. So alchemize away if you don't have enough pearls to get these out. Communion Master, fire resistance, fire resistance, fire resistance. This is going to use some of our water gems. But this is going to not only make any non-sacred troops we bring fire resistant, which will probably hopefully keep them from dying, because otherwise they're just going to die from our heat aura. Again, the more especially with the bless we have, the more you can get away from Peltasts, the better. And I think the Terracotta Soldiers might be your best bet, but if you don't have anything, it's probably still worth it to bring Peltasts, because you need, when these air elementals drop down, when the imps drop down, you don't want them dropping on your mages, okay? You want them dropping on these Peltasts. And these guys can't guard commander because they're going to go berserk. There might be some other unit that would be a great fit that I haven't thought of. So anyway, think about what that might be. You can do that in Mod Inspector. You can probably just look for things that are poison and fire resistance that are available to Arcadia, including things that are available to everybody. The other thing we're going to be doing is we've got one of our cap-only mages who we put the scroll on, and she's now going to be able to do Divine Channeling. I'm sorry, not Divine Channeling. Relief and Summon Earth Power. This is going to make our 4 slaves all have 6 Reinvigoration. It's also going to give Reinvigoration to all of our priests. And this charm we get is not a low fatigue spell like most holy spells. It's going to cost a lot of fatigue. So giving all of our priests an extra bit of reinvigoration is going to be very nice. And then this lady's doing Divine Blessing. Do I have somebody else doing Divine Blessing sooner? I probably should. Oh yeah, this guy is. Oh wait, no, but he can't. This guy's actually got like the wrong script. I probably should make sure we get Divine Blessing out. Maybe. Well, no, I kind of don't want it super soon because it's going to burninate everybody. This Bless that I've loaded up in the test game too, I forgot to put regeneration on it. So it's not as good as the Bless we have. Anyway, this is, I think, this is an army we could aspire to in the real game. This is an army we could aspire to. And maybe even do better than. And it's kind of a lot of mages, but honestly, you're going to need them. And a lot of these are super cheap. Like, Rhapsodes are so cheap. So, like, they don't even really count as mages. If you look at our real mage commitment, it's not even that high. Not even that high. Okay, now I'm going to take a look at Zune. We're going to show you what we have coming in. We basically, some of this is just because I was lazy. We've got a few air elementals being summoned. I brought a lot of these guys. So we've got 4 lifelong protections. And then we've got more dudes here who are just going to be spamming out lesser air elementals. And then this guy who's going to be doing fire elementals, and these guys are on guard commander. So that's the play. I'm not doing, I don't think, Foul Vapors. And Foul Vapors, ideally we would do, because they're very weak against it. It's kind of game-winning for us. But, and this is an important but, it's going to kill all our Peltasts. So if we find some other guard commander troop that has poison resistance, we can do it easier. Or if we're willing to spend the nature gems on dropping Poison Ward, which we're already kind of doing. But I think we don't need it. And we're going to try to steal all their troops with charm anyway. So depending on how big and dire the threat is, will I think determine whether you want to do Foul Vapors or not. So anyway, let's see how this goes. It might not go our way. I think it did, because it's not a very long battle. And this is more griffins than they've brought against us before. So here come our spells up. We've got Divine Channeling out. We've got Relief. I think that was Divine Blessing going. Yeah, so our guys have all gone berserk because they're all blessed now. And you should see our mages start to trickle forward. And then Swarm coming out. The air elemental's getting distracted by Swarm, and we poke them down. And we're closing in. They've got these fire elementals up here, which are causing us a bit of a headache. Imps coming down. And again, we don't have regen. We're going to lose a lot more of these guys than I think we would normally lose. How are they all regening? I'm not totally sure. Maybe they went... Did they go off script and cast mass regen? I've got debug mod on. So I think somebody went off script and cast mass regen, which actually is kind of nice. Because, first of all, it's something we're pretty close to in tech. Like, it's only enchantment 8, and we're enchantment 7. So it's something we definitely could cast very soon. But anyway, it's going to simulate what... This is going to be a lot closer to the Corbiant losses we would take in the real game. Because they all would have regen, because I forgot to put in on this. Now you can see we've stolen some griffins already. I've got team-colored squares on, because that is the name of the game. Now, look over here. We've got... Here's our guys. Look at them spamming out Word of Power. That's going on the demons, the imps. Charm. Just stealing people all over the place. Look at all these griffins. Guess what else? This guy... Wait, that's a griffin rider. We haven't gotten any of the commanders yet. Stealing all of their shit. This is what it feels like to play Arcadia. You want to literally, like, stop hitting yourself. It's so frustrating. Just bring back bad memories of being you. And over here we've got our communion. Everybody's mostly okay. These guys, a lot of them did not unfortunately get hit with... This guy did. So he got resist fire put on him and some protection. But they're all fatigued out from the heat aura. And then we would have lost a lot more peltasts, but I had mass regen up. So if you do this, you will lose more peltasts than I did. But you can see we didn't lose many Corbiants. A very acceptable number of losses. For this would just devastate Zune. Like, this would be almost GG for them if they had this kind of commitment. I mean, I don't know how big they are, but they don't look that big. They look like this would be just devastating for them. And then, yeah, we've got a lot of Griffins. So we've got... Look at all these Griffin Riders that are ours now. And we got one of the Griffin Generals, too. So if we come over here and look at it, like, look what has happened to our ranks. We got this dude... Oh, unfortunately, he didn't have... If he had a lifelong protection, we would have stole that too. And then look at this. We've got all these Griffin Riders now. Hot shit. All right. So this is what we can aspire to for an army. And it looks expensive, but it's not really, because these guys are super cheap. The things we have to solve are how do we get enough Guard Commander units that aren't going to completely get crapped on. If we can't come up with anything better, we just use peltasts, right? And yeah, we just need to get the Astral Mages and enough Rhapsodes, and we're good to go. And again, you can throw in Foul Vapors if you want to. So anyway, that's one solution. I'm going to pause now, and we're going to go back. Or maybe I can actually... I think we might actually just be able to kind of continue. Because I think if I go to Zune, I think I have a few more of these. We have plenty of Griffins. Do I have enough lifelong protection? So 1 second. Let's make some more. Okay. Oh, we've got some of our lifelong protections already here. Okay, we're totally set. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up now the next one. And ideally I'd do this without pausing, because if I pause, there's a good chance it's all going to mess up and I have to fix it in editing. Okay, so we're going to take you two idiots. these are going to be the first ones. And this is going to be a little stronger. He wasn't really raiding with 10 Guard Commander Griffins. He was a smaller number, which is fine. And we'll go ahead and take the air gem off. And perfect. Okay, so this is what he's raiding with. And Arcadia. Crap, we've got some guys there. Need to go pick them up. Let me go back to Zoom. We're not going to have these guys roll out quite yet. Okay, Arcadia. We're going to have a few ways to kill these guys now. Now, one of them... I have to come down here and find the commander I made, because I've already got a lot of this set up. Shit. Okay, well, we're going to have to script it ourselves, because I've kind of forgotten who all was down here. And I need to bring one. This is the... I'll show you the group we've got. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so here is the squad that is going to defend. So patrol, let's have you come back. Now the script, this lady is going to be doing... I need them all in the same tile, because they're all size 2. She's going to do Iron Warriors, Foul Vapors, Moss Body, and Howl. You are going to stand in the same square. You are going to do... I think we're going to do... There's a few different things we need to cast. Let's have you do Blessing, Body Ethereal, Luck, Cheat Fate, Spells. You are going to do... Now, we don't have poison resistance in our Bless, so the most important thing that we can do, in my opinion, for the first turn for her is go ahead and get Poison Word out of the way. We'll give her a couple gems, and then we're going to do Moss Body, and then we're going to do Enlarge, and then we're going to do probably Quickness, I guess, but this is a little overkill at this point. Okay. We're going to turn conservative gem use off of them. Okay, and spells. So nobody should move forward. They should just stay in the square, which is perfect. Anyway, this is basically it. Now, you could do for PD, I think we'll do 10 PD. I've kind of positioned them. Sometimes the PD can actually mess it up. But I've positioned them so that when the imps start landing, the PD should be right around them. We're going to go ahead and get these troops out of here. Okay. So that's basically it. And will this work? This should work. Howl is optional. You don't have to do Howl. We're going to do it for effect. It's going to make it a little easier. There's also a decent chance these guys run. Because, yeah, the PD running is going to make them a little unhappy, and we don't have quite... If you want to fix it, we could give them more HP, like put Coral Swords on them. But, yeah, anyway, this is going to be the without Coral Sword variety. But ideally, you put Coral Swords on them, and then maybe you also put Lion Pelts on them, on both these other guys. But that's like the luxury option. This is the budget option. We have put a Coral Sword and a Lion Pelt and Reinvig boots on this lady, because she's going to be getting really high fatigue from doing Foul Vapors and Howl and stuff, and the fatigue reduction is going to be nice. And then we really don't want her to die or to run, because that's going to stop Foul Vapor. So we're going to give her a lot of HP. She'll have enough HP where if these guys run, she may not run. So anyway, but if you look at it, this is a super low commitment from us to stop, because he's going to be something like 1,200 gold worth of stuff at us. And we are going to be trying to fight that, plus 80 blood slaves, right? And we're going to be fighting that with just this. So let's see how it does. This doesn't sound like it went very well. Okay, did we get protection off? We did. Oh no, Foul Vapors went away. Yeah, we had the morale check. Alright, well, shit. This does not happen very often in the tests. This is a low commitment attack. Well, shit. It didn't work there. And in truth, we didn't lose much, right? We just lost a tiny bit. And they actually couldn't kill this Oread. Shit. Well, let's come back and do it again. If it doesn't work again, then you'll have to just accept. We did... Oh, we killed... Oh, he retreated. So anyway, we're going to have these guys come back. We're going to have Arcadia walk back over here. I'm going to have to send another idiot to fix this script. Anyway, you can see it's not foolproof. If I put those items on it, it would actually become foolproof. And maybe I'll just do that so that I don't embarrass myself in this. Just looking for some lady. Like, I had somebody do Moss Body. It should be fine. I'm going to take the units off of her. Okay, and then she comes over here. Oh, I think I clicked off my main dude. Okay. So here we go. Let's go ahead and give her more gems. And I'm going to go ahead and just put some gear on them. You do not need this in test, but I just don't want it to mess up again. And it will make it more reliable, but it is not needed. So anyway, I do need to fix their scripts again. So this is going to be Poison Ward. And we're going to do 2 gems so that hopefully... she won't be as fatigued out. And then we'll go ahead and do quickness again. Just going to give us a bit more defense. And you are going to do blessing. Maybe we do body ethereal first and then blessing. I think it's probably a little safer in case imps land near us. Body ethereal, blessing, luck, cheat fate, spells. Okay, perfect. And then we just make sure they're all on the same tile. Okay, and then going back to Zune, we're going to bring these idiots back over. Okay, perfect. And this should work. I didn't do PD, but it'll probably be okay. You don't really need PD for this. PD can actually end up kind of confusing them. Oh, god damn it. They're on stealth. Okay. Helps when you actually have your units present. I've actually made that mistake before when I was testing. I was like, damn it. Hang tight, folks. We actually might need a couple more items, so let's go ahead and make them real quick. Coral Sword, Lion Pelt, Reinvigoration Boots. And we need to get another Nature Random Oread, or Water Random Oread. You will do. Okay, and now I have to give her the right script, which is pretty simple. First of all, let's have you patrol so I don't forget. And then Iron Warriors. And then... Now, it's important the script order, like getting these things off early, because eventually you'll be surrounded by imps, and then that's going to kind of suck. And we'll go ahead and do Howl after this. And we'll go ahead and have you cast, I don't know, regeneration, because why not? And we'll give you like 5 and then 1. Give you 1 more. Okay, perfect. Or not perfect, but good enough. We'll do 10 PD here. Okay, and this is what I've been trying to show you the whole time. But you can see these like little budget defenses. They're a little janky. I'm not going to lie. They're a little janky. Go ahead and give you a lifelong protection. Okay. Guard commander, perfect. And this is what it should look like. That's the right amount of length of time for the battle. You can tell you've tested it a lot when you know how the battle goes based on how long it lasts. So PD runs forward. Imps are about to land. I want to point out too, just so you get a sense for like what this nation can do. This is not the ideal way to do a PD trap. Like imps actually make it, like lifelong protections actually make foul vapors traps pretty tough to do. And you can imagine this against like a much bigger force. So this nation can do exceptional foul vapors traps, is what I'm trying to say. So don't think of this like a super niche strategy to just solve one problem. This is a strategy you can use with this nation to solve lots of problems. Now there are obviously ways to deal with like a few mages sitting behind a little bit of PD, you know, like mass flight and jump on them with good troops. But versus a lot of things, it's going to be pretty good. And there goes Howl. Howl is optional. You do not need Howl for this to work. The PD is about to die, and you'll see the imps surrounding these ladies, and it's not going to matter. So the imps are now surrounding them. They are buffed to hell, so they give 0 shits. Though she's actually taking a little bit of damage here. Now the griffins come in. One of their commanders died. How did she get poisoned? She's got poison resistance. But, yeah, they would all have regen, too. Oh, no, we routed. If we had regen on the Bless, because I forgot to put it on the Bless, as you recall, I don't think they would. I think they HP routed from getting hit, so that wouldn't have happened. Okay, so it didn't actually go completely as planned. But I think we ended up kind of still killing most everything. Okay, not perfect. Anyway, if we had regen on the Bless, just trust me, this would have worked. But this is a pretty efficient way to deal with these idiots. Yeah. It, I mean, if I made sure I got regen, it would work. I've tested it probably like 20 times, just because I was trying to figure out what would work, what wouldn't. And this works probably like 70% of the time. Especially if you have regen. But not having regen there, we ended up taking some chip damage and died. Or not died, but nobody died, right? We just had an HP route. Just from chip damage. So anyway, if you get regen, then this is much more bulletproof, which we have in the Bless. So anyway, it would work in this situation. So that's one way. The other way we're going to look to deal with this is with our God. And the God script that I've come up with is there's some problem sending our God in because he's going to get surrounded by imps. Fortunately, in the game, we've empowered our God in air, and so he can cast flight on himself. So summon Earth Power, Strength of Gaia, Howl, Iron Skin, Flight, Attack, Rear. And he's going to get bogged down for a while, but hopefully Howl will distract the imps enough that he can then fly and attack rear. Now, what's important about this is he can teleport. So we're going to go ahead and teleport him on top of this goon squad and see how that works. I might not have given him gems. Probably should have checked that. No, he has gems. Strength of Gaia is going to make it nice so that Howl doesn't cause his... Oh, I guess I killed all their commanders. Or their commanders retreated. Okay, so that's fine. So anyway, pretend we teleported. I'm going to send 2 more idiots on top of them. Let's not send diseased ones if we can help it. This will be fine. I've forgotten to do the magical cloning in Zune right now, so people are starting to get a little diseased. And okay, perfect. Now, if you have higher construction, there's some other things you can do. Like, I think Shock Shield is maybe a little better on him. Because once we finally do get back there... Okay, he finally got Howl off. It's a little tough with the imps surrounding him. And then Iron Skin. So this is going to give him enough breathing room where he can now jump and attack rear probably. Flight. And once he gets back there, he's just going to beat the crap out of all these idiots. And this is kind of a non-ideal spot because he's going to get hit with Holy Word and stuff. And it may be worth also adding Iron Will to the script. It's going to take a little longer for him to get back there. But the wolves also are going to take some of the spellcasting heat off of him, which is kind of nice. This might actually work. I've only tested it a couple times and it's worked a couple times. But it could be once I start recording it, I'll get better. I probably should have put him on attack. Probably attack large. Anyway, we ended up kind of getting him, but we'll do it again because that wasn't really a great test. Let's give him some more nature gems here. And let's do attack large. That'll probably be better. And then Zune, let's send these same idiots back in. The important thing about this is if we can have our god, if we can have a script that will work for our god that we can magic phase on top of these guys, it's going to make it very, very hard for him to raid. And I think this is something we can do this turn in the game. Oh, it doesn't look like it worked. Looks like the battle timed out, which is not great. He's getting surrounded by imps. Eventually the wolves will clear the imps enough that he can actually finish the script. Rear's flight. Okay, and he has jumped in there to the approximately the right spot. And he's going to go kind of beat everything around him. But now he's a little separated, so he's got to get kind of lucky. This is where having the shock shield is really nice. Okay, we got most of them. Anyway, you can see he's winning all the fights. And even if the Griffins run, when you retreat while you're raiding an enemy territory, it's usually pretty bad. You're going to lose a lot of units in the retreat. If you get the shock shield at construction 6, it's going to be really good because once you jump back there, the shield's just going to keep zapping the shit out of them. So that's a pretty darn good option if you can get that. The other thing that's kind of good is if you give him Stygian wings, Stymphalian wings or whatever, he can trample and fly. It saves you a script slot. But what's nice about that is he can kind of get right in there with them. That's especially good if you have the shock shield on him. And he also kills imps faster with it. But it's going to put more of a hurting on him for reinvigoration. So in that case, you would probably also want to give him rainbow armor. Because that's also going to help a bit with reinvigoration. But anyway, this guy, Helm helps a lot to deal with the imps. So that you can actually finish your raiding. So hopefully, if we kind of step back, some of the tests didn't go perfectly, and they might not go perfectly in game, but even when it didn't go perfectly, it still went pretty well. Like a lot of times we would kill some of the stuff and then maybe we ran. There's very few cases where we actually completely failed. Yeah. So anyway, that's going to be, I think, reasonably efficient ways to deal with the raiding, and it gives us some aspirations for what to do with our army. So let's go back and do final thoughts from the real game. Final thoughts from the real game. game thinking very hard. Okay, what are some thoughts from the real game? Well, this turn, if we want to, we can teleport on top of these guys and kill them. Cause them to rout. She can potentially... if we have any way to do a magic phase attack here... I don't know what... She's harmonic what? Harmonic knowledge. This is like be good later. I don't think we have the things for harmonic knowledge. I think what you actually want to do here is you want to take this lady and do Call of the Wild. And do it right here. This is a forest province, so it's going to be more effective. And then this will also be helpful for patrolling, and the wolves are going to be okay for sieging. So I would do it here, because there's a forest, you're going to get this, and then she can pop out, and then just do a shit ton of swarm spamming. Or like, she can't do howl, but she can do... Yeah, I'd probably just spam out swarm, right? And we can see how much PD's here. Quite well organized. Okay, so a fair amount. So, okay, it may not work, but if it does work, if this guy causes this guy to retreat with a magic phase attack, then all of them are going to be dead. And I think we saw it's risky enough that he might not... In some of the tests, he would kill all of them. In other ones, he wouldn't kill that many. Either way, it's going to be worth it to do an attack. This lady will appear in the magic phase attack. So, yeah, I'd probably do that. Maybe you do, like, Iron Skin so she doesn't die. She'll probably retreat. And then... like flight, so she definitely won't die. And then swarm. Something like that. Right? Or you could even do Strength of Gaia. Flight, swarm. And then that way she probably won't die. And then she's going to have with her the Call of the Wild. Right? But you have to make sure she's set to attack. So anyway, do that. Teleport a dude on top of this. These guys are going to die. They fail in the route. But this is going to be like a generic kind of threat you can do wherever. It's not just this one case. This is a particularly nice case, though, because there's only one retreat province. So it's easy to cut off the retreat route. You've got these guys here. You need to start forming an army. What that means is you need to start getting rhapsodes. You need lots of rhapsodes. Lots and lots of rhapsodes. So I take all my money and put it into rhapsodes, because the sooner you get 15 rhapsodes, the sooner you can kind of go win. Now, these guys, the Nature 3s, can also do advance and cast spells with Charm. And even the Nature 2s, if they have an Earth random with a gem, they can become Nature 3 with Strength of Gaia. And they can do advance and cast spells. But you're a little short on Nature gems, so I don't know about that. You have a shit ton of Earth gems. You have a decision to make for whether to go Earth Blood Deepwell. You'd have to steal it from them, so you'd probably have to put all your gems in it. That might be okay. I'm not... I mean, there's probably some stuff we can spend Earth gems on. Like, ogres are actually going to be pretty nice. And the Troll King Court will be pretty good for sieging. So there's some things we could spend Earth gems on. And then we definitely enjoy having an Earth Mage there to buff all our guys up. So yeah, I could see stealing Earthblood Deepwell and then spamming out Troll King Court or something like that, or ogres. Maybe there's something else here that I'm missing. Cave grubs could be nice if we have a cave. They're pretty good siege units. Enlivened statues could be good. These guys are pretty good guard commander dudes. I think they're resistant to poison and fire, but I could be wrong. Anyway, you have some options. You can steal it. The other option I know you were thinking about was doing Riches from Beneath. And Riches from Beneath, pretty good, but I think you're too small for this to be a bigger deal. Like, I think the raw earth income's better. And ultimately, somebody who controls Earthblood Deepwell is going to be able to steal Riches from Beneath from you. So I would probably go for, if you're going to spend the Earth Gems on that, I would go ahead and do Earthblood Deepwell. So, yeah. Then, what else? Kill these guys, form up an army, get the Rhapsodes in it. You've got a few Astral randoms, right? Get these guys, start forging. Now, you have no Astral income. So, on one hand, you know, shame on you. You should have been casting Arcane Probing with these guys. But I would look at alchemizing maybe some of the fire, maybe some of the air. Our site searching also is not very great. So I would alchemize, get some pearls, and start making as many. You're going to need, let's say, like you need 8. At a minimum, you need 8 of these. And that's going to give you the kind of spam power you need for Swarm. Now, in addition, you can take all the Nature 3s. And I would take all the Nature 3s in my army and use them on advance and cast spells to do Charm spam too. Yeah. And I'd probably get this lady with my main army and have her do... She could be the one that's got the Communion Master. She can jump in, do relief with this. And that way you don't have to worry about wasting nature gems. Assuming she lives from this PD attack. Yeah. Oh, it looks like you were going to use her as an assassin, which is interesting. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, she can join your main army and spam out relief, which I think would be good. And then you need to work on getting up some siege stuff, taking all this. Anyway, I think you've got... this obviously is a little short-sighted. Like, we're just looking at the things Zune is doing now. We're not looking at all the things Zune could do. But you've got a lot of things going for you. You've got, I think, a pretty decent build in terms of your bless. You're in a good geographical situation. Like, you're not going to get dogpiled. And Zune's land is probably nice and juicy with lots of population, unlike yours. So, if you can put together a force and take his stuff, I think you can have him thinking it is a very unfair matchup. But again, this is only kind of looking at what he's currently doing. We're not looking at all the things he could do. And I'm not even sure because I don't know his research. There's a lot I don't know. And I don't even know that much about Zune. I know some about Zune. I did a national guide on him if any of y'all want to check it out. But, you know, anyway, I have no idea what all the things he could do are, but I think this is your best shot. Anyway, I hope the viewers have enjoyed it. I hope the player who's playing it has at least gotten something useful out of it. Oh, one more thing I'll just say in closing. The idea behind the efficient raiding is you never know where this squad's going to go. They're flying. They can move a long way. The important thing about that little Foul Vapors defense is you can deploy a lot of those. Right? You're going to be limited basically by your number of nature gems. So... yeah, because you can deploy a lot, maybe you could have like 3 or 4 you put out, which just means you take some of your mages, you put them there, and you just have them wait. You know, additionally, wherever you have these woodland spirits, are they suffering? I wonder how you got them. Maybe there was a temple here before, and they got burned down. Did a temple get burned down? Yeah, earthquake struck and destroyed your temple. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe have somebody here bless these, do a Foul Vapors trap. If these guys get blessed, they'll probably survive Foul Vapors. But yeah, I would get a few traps set up so if he brings the griffins into him, they die. Like, probably pretty likely he attacks here with the griffins, though he might attack here. Anyway, so I would look at getting a few Foul Vapors traps set up. I would use my god every turn to kill these raiders. When my god's not doing that, I would put him on other tasks, like casting Earthblood Deepwell or maybe getting Terracotta Soldiers or something. And then start preparing that first army. So anyway, good luck. I hope you pull out a win versus Zune at least. And hopefully you can leverage that into continuing on. All right, take care, everyone, and have a good time.